What's up, everybody? It's time for another video. Alright, so today's topic is, once again, the election. Now, I am happy to report back and say that my consumption of election news over the last week or two has been, I would say, on the whole, fairly minimal. So, I'd say that is a net positive. And if you have listened to some of my previous episodes on election predictions and odds, then you probably know that I consider most of what's happening in this particular period to be noise and not particularly uh, influential on how the election turns out. Now, that opinion is informed by Alan Lichtman's model, the what's it called, keys to the White House or something like that, 13 keys to the White House, something like that, and he recently released his official prediction for 2024. Now it's interesting that it took him until September to actually release those. Normally, I think he would release them in July, perhaps, and that's understandable with everything going on with Biden stepping down and Harris coming in. That he wanted some more time, but it may shed some light on some things as far as maybe it's closer or hard to call maybe than it has been other years, or perhaps than he was comfortable with earlier, or whatever. So, whatever the case, he has officially made his prediction. His prediction is Kamala Harris. In his view, at most, 5 of the 6 keys have fallen that would need to fall for her to not be elected. So, in his view, she is apparently she is very likely to win the election. Now, this is interesting because I don't know if the prophetic community. I'm not sure to what extent they've spoken into Trump being reelected, but I do believe that, as far as I know, from the little bits I've heard here and there, it seems like the prophetic community is, by and large, predicting a Trump win. Now, that being said, I don't know if I've heard a lot of high-profile prophetic voices come out recently and predict it. So I'm not sure if it's fair to sum it up to say that's like some kind of consensus or something. I would be. It seems. Anyway. And then there is the Patriot community. And the Patriot community, just from the little bits I pick up, seem to think that the plan, the underground operation, all that stuff seems to be working towards a Trump re-election. So, that is, so far as I know, that seems to be the consensus in that community. But there again, my knowledge of their predictions or their beliefs around that are limited. I'm not deep into that community, so I don't know what all the talk going on there is. So, if I mischaracterize any of those communities, then please forgive me. So to me, this is shaping up to be an interesting election. So in some ways, it feels like it's going to be a referendum of some kind. Either a referendum on, the people who predicted Trump win, or a referendum on Alan Lichtman predicting a Kamala win. So, were it not for Alan Lichtman, I think I would feel that a Trump re-election is likely. I think I would take the evidence from the prophetic and patriot communities, plus polling, plus the apparent weakness just as a political operative and leader of Kamala and her track record. I guess, her track record both as a leader and as a candidate, I would feel is weak enough that it really causes some real questions around whether she is able to win. So, but all that being said, I mean, I do think the race has dramatically, I say dramatically, I do think it has shifted in some important ways since since stepped down. Of course, whether Biden and Kamala are actually who they say they are, whether they're some sort of fake body doubles, I guess there's various theories around that. But just at face value, if indeed they are who they say they are, and then them stepping down, Biden stepping down was quite a fascinating situation. So I think it'll be interesting to see how the debate goes. I don't believe the debate to be, well, as you can tell, like Alan Lichtman's model doesn't necessarily place much emphasis, in fact almost none, except for the charisma key, on the individual candidate's performance throughout an election cycle or season. So, because Alan Lichtman is one of, so because I tend to subscribe to his theory, I think it has an amazingly good track record, then I think that what happened in the debates may not be particularly, consequential. That being said, I do find Alan Lichtman himself to be rather annoying. He's very, very left-leaning, very pro-Democrat. So he seems to be able to be objective enough on his model to mostly predict correctly, even though he's clearly left-leaning himself. So if his left-leaning takes and so forth, I find to be annoying, and even just some of his presentation in general, perhaps. But in terms of his predictions, it's hard to argue with the man's record, and so maybe he just got lucky, but he's gotten lucky a lot. If that's all that has determined the success of his model so far. So anyway, it's kind of interesting. Nate Silver seems to get a lot of press with his prognostication, and I don't know that Nate Silver has predicted an election correctly. I don't know since when, actually. Yeah, I guess I'm not really up on his stats. I would assume he has maybe a couple successful ones in the bag, but he seems to have had some pretty big whiffs. And so it's kind of amazing to me that we still discuss his prognostications as if they were particularly valuable. But anyway, you gotta have something to talk about in the media, right? So Nate Silver provides something to talk about, I guess. Anyway, that's my current update on Alan Lichtman's prediction and a few of my own thoughts sprinkled in there. What do you think?